The MSI Pulse GL76 lineup is a range of no-nonsense gaming notebooks that pack the best hardware and tech around. If you're looking at investing in one of these devices, you know what you want, and for the most part these monster laptops deliver exactly that. The model I tested out in this review is the Intel 12th Gen Core i7 and the RTX 37 combination. It also packs a 17-inch Full HD 360Hz display. Like most MSI gaming notebooks around, this one doesn't compromise on the hardware in order to make a thinner and lighter device. It is a beastly laptop that weighs 2.6 kilograms and is 24mm thick. You can also find this notebook in other configurations which include RTX 3050 and 3050 Ti GPUs and 144Hz displays. The model I have is one of the top tier ones and will set you back quite a penny. It costs 45,000 Rand and the RTX 36 model sits at 39,999. But in this case you pay for what you get here, and the specs on this MSI Pulse GL76 notebook include the following. The design of the MSI Pulse GL76 isn't going to blow you away by any means. If anything, it looks like an old 17-inch MSI gaming notebook that I've reviewed for the past few years, and that's okay. The real meat here is in the performance, and there's just enough gaming appeal in the design to make this feel like a hardcore gaming notebook. The build is made out of mostly plastic. The only real metal is found on the lid. The rest of the notebook is a matte plastic. This has definitely been done to help keep the weight down, but at the same time I could not help but feel like a little bit more aluminium around the shell would have helped make it feel a bit more expensive. Given the price tag, it would make sense. On the top there are a few accents embossed into the lid that gives me jet plane vibes. There's also an MSI logo slapped into the middle. This doesn't light up or anything fancy. The bottom has an interesting design too. The vents run at a parallel line but also at an angle that makes the cutout skew to a certain degree, sort of as if the printing machine was bumped while cutting this bottom plastic out, resulting in a manufacturing design issue. It is strange, but I kind of loved it. I also wanted to straighten it out, but obviously I just couldn't do that. The ports are scattered all over this notebook. On the right there's an HDMI 2.0 port. Yes, this notebook has a 30 series GPU but can't output 4K 120 due to its limited HDMI port, but more on that later. There's also a USB-C 3.2 Gen 1 port, a USB-A 3.2 Gen 1 port, audio jack combo and a LAN port. On the left there's a charging port, a USB type A 2.0 port and a 3.2 Gen 1 port. There are also no ports at the back whatsoever, not even a display port out. Opening up the notebook and you'll find a full-size keyboard. I always prefer a notebook with a number pad, so the addition here was great. The keyboard isn't per RGB or anything, just uses one color across the entire layout. The 17-inch display also means a bigger body, so this is possible too. As for the display, the bezels are just over 1 cm, which gives the notebook a lot of screen space. There's also a webcam slapped into the middle of the top bezel, which is thicker than the rest. There's also a tiny trackpad under the keyboard. It packs some accents on it too, which includes the center crosshair and outer lines. They don't serve any real purpose. As I mentioned, the design of the MSI Pulse GL76 is pretty basic, but it does work. I do have some issues with it though. For starters, the trackpad is horrible. It is very small, and it doesn't click very well either. It just feels finicky in general. It makes tasks like clicking and dragging quite a challenge, and the smaller surface does nothing to help with gestures and scrolling either. I also think the lack of an HDMI 2.1 and display port is a letdown here. I know MSI was pushing to use the 360Hz display on the notebook, but the RTX would be great when displaying 4K 120Hz on certain games on supported TVs and monitors. If you don't put an HDMI 2.1 port, at least put a display port. The lack of both here is just sad. Given this is a gaming notebook, the main tests I ran while testing performance all revolved around the latest games. I tested as many ray tracing titles too, due to the RTX 3070. There's a clear advantage to combining the 12th gen CPU to the RTX 3070. Here are some tests I ran across 3D Mark and games. Keep in mind that I ran these tests while making use of the best gaming mode possible on the notebook, and all these tests ran at 1080p. I also ran PC performance tests to put the CPU and storage to the test. Here's what PC Mark 10 pumped out across the various tests. You can see from the test that thanks to the Full HD display on this notebook, the MSI Pulse GL76 doesn't struggle to hit the frames on certain games. Even in the most graphically intense games, they still perform quite well. This performance does come with some drawbacks to the cooling. The notebook gets quite hot, while at the same time gets loud too. I measured some temperatures over 90 degrees Celsius at times, and the fans were very loud. The fans get very loud, almost annoyingly loud at times. You also can't game with this notebook on your lap because it will burn you. I also felt like the fans never turned off whatsoever. I heard them every moment of the day when this notebook was functioning, even when it was just sitting on the desktop. The GPU runs at 930 MHz base clock, but it can be boosted up to 1400 MHz. You'll just need to fiddle with the MSI Afterburner to distribute some extra clocks here and there to tailor the performance. Games and content generally looked okay on the display. Don't expect the best experience here because the panel doesn't have HDR and the peak brightness is non-existent. It also only packs 97 sRGB, 70% DCI-P3 and 67 Adobe RGB color range. However, if you want the smoothest experience around, this monitor definitely delivers here. The 360 refresh rate is a dream across all games and makes the experience look and feel fantastic. As for the battery, well, it's just okay. You can get away with around 3 hours of video binging here and about an hour of low settings while gaming. You can also get around 4 hours of web browsing. I did have issues where the battery would drain completely flat while the device was closed, which isn't great either. I often left the notebook for a day without using it, only to find the 100% battery dead. Just don't rely on this battery here. Carry your charger wherever you can. Speakers were decent too. They aren't loud enough to combat the fan noise during heavy gaming, but streaming and music was good. They clearly lack a punch, but they are laptop speakers and they, well, get the job done. In the end, the MSI Pulse GL76 is what you get, a high refresh gaming notebook capable of powering almost anything I threw at it. Sure, it gets hot and loud, but the performance here is fantastic, and of course it comes with its own setbacks. It really is a no-nonsense gaming notebook through and through. I do wish MSI didn't skimp on the ports and the battery was a little bit better, but hey, this is a 17-inch gaming notebook, so you get what you pay for here. And those are my thoughts on the MSI Pulse GL76. Are you looking to pick this up? Let us know down below. Also, throw any questions you have in the comments. I'll get to them as soon as possible. As usual, please do like and subscribe and visit www.glitch.online for more gaming and tech news. Until next time, farewell.